In 1998, Chu Long started to run car repairing, car sales, and 4S stores. By 2000, his assets had exceeded 30 million yuan. Guo Qingyuan, nephew of Guo Wengui, managed the vehicles of his company. Qingyuan often came for repair services and owed hundreds of thousands of yuan.
Guo Wengui was abroad then. He stayed overseas for over 2 years, to evade some trouble probably.
When he came back, he gave me the arrears. Chu Long was awed by Guo Wengui in their first encounter. Guo believed in Buddhism and looked like a good man, so Chu wanted to make friends with Guo. He bowed to his parents every morning and evening. He burned incense, prayed, and recited Buddhist lines in front of the shrine in the company every day. He was very generous to his friends, a very reliable man seemingly. Chu and Guo liked each other and got along well. In 2000, Chu went to Guo to borrow 8 million yuan. Guo gave him the money without any mortgage. Chu felt very indebted and looked forward to repaying him. Such an opportunity came soon, but the opportunity threw him close to the bankruptcy and to the jail. In 2005, Guo was short of funding. He was in need of money for compensation for land transfer. Therefore, a lot of construction had to come to a stop. The city government, which offered the land transfer, wanted him to pay. But he had a lot of debt. Guo came to me and wanted to borrow 100 million yuan and pay for the land transfers. He said after he had paid, he would be able to sell houses and give back the money to me in just 1 month. In 2005, Guo Wengui's Pangu project came to a halt because of financial constraints.
The city government had threatened to take back the project. Chu Long was earning a lot of money. He had won a bid for a car purchase project from the Ministry of Civil Affairs. He had about 200 million yuan from car sales. As a way to thank Guo, Chu lent 100 million yuan to him, asking Guo to pay back in amount. However, Chu's good intention ended up being a disaster for him.
He didn't pay back the money. My business partner, the who paid back the money. My Changfeng automobiles loaning. I was there the local about 9 months. For this, cooperation between Chu Long and Changfeng broke up. Chu Long lost more than 10 million yuan. His reputation was ruined. What he had achieved all those years vanished immediately. Just then, Guo Wengui, who had orchestrated all this, offered his hand to Chu. He came to me and said, "My good brother, you've suffered a lot. Don't run your own business anymore. Why not join me? I'll give you 50% of Zhengquan shares." In 2006, Guo used a porn video to knock down Liu Zhihua, vice mayor of Beijing. So, in the business circle of Beijing, Guo was a notorious man and people tried to distance themselves from him. That's why Guo would invite Chu to help him run the Zhengquan real estate company and appointed him as executive director. Because Guo had already promised Chu half of the shares, he accepted the invitation and became Guo's elite helper, closest friend, and partner.
They had a honeymoon for a period of time. Your Honor, prosecutors, because this is the second time I stood in the dock because of Guo Wengui. Before I cooperated with Guo Wengui, I had a stable career and a happy family. The cooperation with Guo Wengui did not bring me any benefits, because Guo Wengui and his supporters falsely accused me. I was sentenced by Hebei Weichang Court for 15-year imprisonment and currently confiscated all personal property, and therefore all my business and personal properties robbed and occupied by Guo Wengui. On September 12th, at a detention center in Dalian, Liaoning, a judge of Hebei Higher People's Court declared defendant Chu Long free of charge in the wake of a new trial. Li Xia, Chief Judge, Hebei Higher People's Court. 1. We have revoked the judgment made by the Chengde Intermediate People's Court and Weichang Country People's Court. 2. We have concluded that the defendant Qu Long free of any criminal offense. This is the final verdict.
There is only one thing in the rest of my life. I will hire the best lawyer overseas to sue Guo Wengui. I will sue him in China if he comes back. I will strive to protect my rights and interests, using laws as my weapon, and making use of the good international environment. Guo Wengui brought me ordeal for up to 10 years, including the 6 years of my imprisonment. He destroyed my 10 years. I won't let him go unpunished. 曲龙 and Guo Wengui's honeymoon didn't last long for the issue of Tianjin Huatai Company. Their relations got sour and then collapsed. In 2008, Guo bought 70% of Huatai shares from Zhao Yun'an in order to use its capital, totalizing hundreds of millions of yuan. In the course of the purchase, Guo entrusted Qu and others to hold the shares on his behalf. After Guo took away 400 million yuan from Huatai, he didn't pay consideration to Zhao before the agreed time. He transferred the shares to Qu Long and asked Qu to sign a memo for the transfer. When he transferred the shares to me, Guo said, "Huatai is good. If Pangu Zhengquan Company goes bankrupt, we will not suffer together. Huatai will save you." He outlined the bright future of Huatai. He asked his assistant to arrange the transfer. However, we didn't sign an agreement immediately because our lawyers were not present. And the agreement had not been drafted or printed. Guo's assistant did arrange me to sign later on his order. Qu Long sorted out Huatai's ownership issue. Huatai went well on track. When Guo learned Huatai had cleared the illegal matter and had invested in a molybdenum mine worth tens of billions, he began studying how to get Huatai back. When he learned the mine was worth tens of billions and Huatai's project in coastal Ningde had been successful, he started regret selling the company to me. He wanted it back, but he had no excuse. He then said a leader in the CPC Discipline Commission wanted to take possession of Huatai. Qu believed Guo forsook good for the sake of gold. However, he had devoted himself so much to Huatai, so he didn't want to give it to others. He turned down Guo's request, citing the danger of bribery. Days later, Guo called again, saying the leader was furious and asking Qu to yield Huatai to him. At 6 a.m. also, Guo rang me up. He said the leader had pushed him so much and threatened to do something bad about our company if I didn't agree to give up Huatai. I said, "Bro, don't try to fool me. If you want it, say it. Don't do it in the name of a so-called leader." Guo replied by saying, "You bastard had grown strong now." He began to curse me using foul language. I was angry too and traded dirty words with him. That marked the breakup of our brotherhood. Since Qu didn't follow his order, Guo sent Qu his child photo and his resident address, hinting at imminent attacks on Qu's family. Guo's men also broke into Huatai and took away its seal and license. On July 1st, 2009, Guo asked Ma Cheng to lead guards into the office of Henan Huatai. They dispersed the staff and carried away their documents, seal, and license. The guards occupied the office and locked the doors. Qulong was forced to move his company to Inner Mongolia. Guo then collaborated with Gao Hui of MSS, accusing Qu of mafia connections and arms possession. Qu was under repeated investigations. Guo threatened Qu with probe reports signed by some officials. Chu's life and business were seriously affected. He began to fight back. From 2010, Chu charged Guo with working with Vice Minister Ma Jian, Section Chiefs Gao Hui and Meng Huiqing of using public power to gain wealth, rob enterprises of their properties, and swallowing state assets by illegally buying Minzu securities. Chu also exposed the deeds with the press. His expose infuriated Guo, Ma, and their criminal bloc. After the press published the story, Guo called me, saying I had offended MSS officials and would be dealt with duly. Guo soon asked his men to report Chu's fraud to Beijing Public Security Bureau twice, but Beijing dismissed it as mere economic dispute. Guo asked MSS Vice Minister Ma Jian for help. Ma's men contacted Beijing, but Beijing stuck to their judgment. Guo then told Ma that he had successfully contacted Chengde Public Security, which also had rights of jurisdiction. He asked Ma to give a push. Ma remembers details of his interference. I sent my assistant to Hebei to meet Director Zhang Yue. I called him in person, urging him to help. Soon, Zhang decided that Chengde would handle Chu's case.
On March 31st, 2011, the eve of Guo's acquisition of Minzu securities, Chu was taken away by a dozen of unidentified people, including Gao Hui, Guo's guards, and Chengde police. Why? Illegal arms possession.
Qulong was in the parking lot of a restaurant in eastern Beijing. He was sitting in his car. It was suddenly surrounded and pounded by more than a dozen unidentified people. It was the parking lot near the 4th Ring Road. I recognized the leader of the crowd. He was Gao Hui. I remained in the car, but they broke the window into pieces and dragged me out of it. Then they handed me to the police car of Chengde City. Qulong could tell the attackers included men led by Gao Hui, a section chief of the Ministry of State Security, and some security guards. To his astonishment, he and his driver tried unsuccessfully to call the police at 110. Later, he believed that Gao Hui must have employed technology to block communication signals. I don't know why, but we could not make phone calls, either in or outside the car. When I eventually reached the police, they said it was a case of violent kidnap. The plate number of the cars were not regular ones. By my knowledge, they must belong to some state security organization.
Qulong was confused. The Chengde police arrested him on account of illegal arms possession, but after they took him to Chengde, they had never asked about it, as if the reason had never existed. Qulong was put to the city detention house. The next day, he was taken out for interrogation. That would last for 7 days and nights. On the 3rd or 4th day, the chief police, by the name of Guo Dongbing, said to me, "You have violated the interests of Hebei leaders." MSS Minister Ma and our Director Zhang are seeing to the case in person. You are doomed.
So, zip your mouth.
I said, "Beat it." I exposed their scandal on Minzu securities. They are prosecuting me. Then, He asked me to shut up. Qulong said, the police in Chengde never mentioned the charge of illegal arms. The first round of interrogations lasted 7 days in the Chengde sanatorium. It focused on Huatai ownership issue. This was later used as a major excuse for Chu's conviction of duty encroachment. They forced me to concede that I took over Guo's shares in my position as securities company. I told them this was not true, but they kept me awake hour after hour. By the 5th day, I began to hallucinate. When they asked me if I had made up documents, my brain was swimming and I signed on the police transcript without knowing what he said. This is how my first confession came into being. The questioning ran for 10 hours each. The signed record was then used as important proof to establish Chu's seizing of Huatai shares. Chu went through 7 days of interrogation on his alleged occupation of Guo's 4 houses, which would support his subsequent conviction. Lawyer Mu Feng said Chu's case was wrong. The police extorted confessions by torture, under the instigation of Guo Wengui, Ma Jian, and Zhang Yue. Mu Feng and Zhou Li both say, on different occasions, Chengde police handling the case called Guo Wengui our boss and Zhang Yue our chairman. Guo Dongbing once came to me to talk about the case. We met in a tea house. He and his colleague got off their Buick like 2 hatchet men. He started by saying Qulong had offended my boss Guo Wengui, and that the case would not end in Chu's favor. He asked me who Zhang Yue was. I shook my head. He said Zhang Yue was the head of CPC Hebei's political and legal committee. Zhang was monitoring the case. The police warned me not to make trouble. High-ranking as he was, Zhang Yue acted like Guo Wengui's subordinate. Businessman Li Yao was once in Guo's office. The arrogant Guo bragged, if I ask Zhang to arrive within 2 hours, he dares not to be late. Indeed, Zhang rushed to Guo's office within 2 hours. When Guo pointed at the chair near the door, he sat there without a complaint. The chief police said to Chu, they had thought of finishing him for illegal arms. However, he said I was very lucky. I had done nothing wrong with arms.
The rifles at my shooting house had all been kept in the police bureau since the Olympic Games.
Otherwise, I would be linked to any murder case.
Qulong, his wife,
And the lawyer all believed Chu's case had long been made up by Guo, in collaboration with Ma Jian, Zhang Yue, and other officials. As early as in October 2009, Chengde accepted the case, charging Chu with illegal arms possession. On March 29, 2011, 2 days before Chu's arrest, the police had prepared a detention warrant, even though they had collected no evidence. In April 2012, under the order of Zhang Yue, Weichang Country Court sentenced Chu to a 15-year jail term and confiscation of all properties, the severest punishment for duty encroachment. Before the trial opened, the veteran judge, surnamed Tang, probably came to me and said, we don't know each other. Judging from my experience, the case is not a big one. Normally, you will receive 5 years of imprisonment. However, all the leaders of the judicial organs have arrived today. I may not decide alone. If I give you the longest term possible, don't blame me. Qulong decided to appeal and his lawyer raised objections to the police procedures. However, Chengde People's Court maintained the verdict without a trial. From September 2012, Chu Long was moved from one prison to another in Hebei. Nobody could find him and even leak any news about him. Fellow prisoners were not allowed to chat with him. He was kept in a tiny room alone for 40 days. If you are not allowed to communicate with others and know nothing about your family, you'll be crazy. Chu Long lost a lot of hair. With days of being questioned under pressure, Chu soon became bald. During his 6 years of imprisonment, Guo never let go of Chu's family. Guo expected Chu to lose everything, including his wife and child. Both Zhou Li and Mu Feng were threatened. Zhou Li was also taken to Chengde and lost freedom. She was once questioned in the middle of the night. It was nightmarish. I said I didn't get involved in his business and I know nothing about it. They said, how come Chu mentioned nothing to you? If you don't reveal his crime, we will detain you. I asked them, am I an innocent citizen or suspect? They said, you are whatever we call you. On January 5, 2013, Zhou Li was again taken to Chengde and asked to confess where the so-called illicit money was. During the 7-day detention, Zhou almost died by torture. I vomited in the hospital. I lost my consciousness. I had collapsed. Chu Long said some government officials had interfered in the case in all its stages. During the enforcement period, a Weichang official came to me. Guo and I had 4 bulletproof BMWs. Each costs 10 million yuan. Used, they were still worth 30 million each. He asked me to agree that the vehicles belonged to Guo lest they were auctioned. In return, when they auctioned my properties, they would leave a house to my wife. I had been sorry for my family, so I agreed. But the court ended up not leaving any house to his family. In the enforcement stage, the police also menaced Zhou Li and the shareholders of Chu's joining company. With the help of judicial people, Guo Wengui eventually won the bid at the auction and took over Zhongyin with a low price of just over 9 million yuan. Zhongyin's real assets were worth 240 million. We had 3 4S stores, 1 repair shop, and 2 cutting grounds with bars. We also owned shares in auction houses and pawn shops. With 9 million, Guo grabbed 55% of the shares worth more than 100 million. After the verdict, Guo sent his people in 2 vans to occupy Chu Long's company. They forced the Chu 500 staff to go without giving any compensation. Guo wanted Chu's company to vanish. He didn't stop there. Guo's men had warned the town government not to rent out the land to Zhou Li for her cutting business. They said to the town leaders, you can use the land in whatever way, but not lease it to Zhou, otherwise it will suffer. Guo cut the supply of my living. After the verdict was finalized, Chengde police warned Mu Feng to leave the case. 5 or 6 times on the phone or face-to-face, even after Ma Zhen was arrested in January 2015. They asked the Mu to keep silent. They said many people might come to inquire about Chu Long's case. Don't talk to them, or you will bear the consequences. In April 2016, when Zhang Yue was detained, the police came to Tianjin again and asked Mu Feng to shut up. But Mu didn't yield to the pressure. He continued to appeal on Chu's behalf. Before Zhang and Ma were arrested, Chu's case had to be handled in Hebei. His lawyer Mu Feng had to wait for an opportunity. His wife Zhou Li supported family alone. She continued appealing, but was unsuccessful because Zhang was in power. Mu appealed to the Intermediate People's Court and then the Higher People's Court in Hebei. But his appeal was turned down by both. No one had the guts to reopen the case. For some time, the desperate Zhou Li lost all her confidence. The world was like hell. Wherever I went, there were obstacles. The instant a glimpse of hope appeared, it vanished right away. What pained Zhou the most was the impact the case had on their children. When Chu was arrested, his son was 11 and daughter 5. As he got older, the son came to believe his dad must have committed crime. Zhou Li always lied to her daughter, saying that Chu was making money in the US. In March 2017, Zhou Li appealed to the Supreme People's Court via NPC deputy. In April, Zhou submitted documents to the Higher People's Court of Hebei. In July, the court accepted the appeal. In August, it informed Chu's lawyer of a retrial. The evidence used for Chu's conviction proved perjury. The witnesses' testimonies leading to Chu's charges with duty encroachment had turned out to be false. He was convicted of illegally occupying Guo Wengui's 4 houses, only based on the testimonies. Previously, Liu Tao, vice manager of Pangu company, denied he had seen Guo's signature on a document for the house transfer. He said Chu wasn't authorized to obtain the houses. Qiu Yiqing, then sales manager of Zheng Quan Company, said Chu had asked Liu to arrange the signing for the transfer without Guo's consent. That means sometime later, I would be granted 50% of the stock rights. I was fully devoted to the project. In May 2008, 80% of the stock right of this project was held by Polygroup, but it was redeemed by certain means. After that, the project was formally transferred to me, who operated the project as the executive director. Some time later, some trivial problems had been solved. Some apartments began to be sold, with some withdrawal funds, as some debts were gradually paid back. The fame of the project turned better. At that time, it found that we had been able to do resale registration. Bro, what are you doing this to the eldest brother who contributed to so much to the company? Now the company also owns a high debt. Simply the Datun along the street with more than 20,000 square meters of business registered in your name. You said you can give it to my child. I said forget it. Elder brother, the financing cost is so high at that time. Our company also lack of money. It can be still sold for several 100 million yuan. We were in difficulty then. We should conquer the difficulty first and talk about other things afterwards.
After a short time, the situation became better. He told me again, saying that several of the offices were also fitted like the ones of Pangu.
You said,
this is relatively good, and then I can give you a house, and then went home and discussed with the family. Of course, we also said this to Lao Li, and Li said, forget it. Such a huge project, and it is so large that each room is more than 600 square meters. The rooms were not enough, and the elders lived there. If we live there, and the old man is not suitable to live here. I didn't want that, and then refused. After a short period, you again said the rooms in the top level of our region had not been sold. The number 10 building was the best of all buildings. You can connect the two buildings and then arrange one for the elders and leave the two rooms for the children. You said this was a little gift from you. I again did not accept that.
Later, when I said I'll discuss with my family about it, just told Xiao Li, and she was on a business trip in Hainan. She said to me, the elder brother had said this to you for several times. You should accept. Otherwise, you will make the brother not trust you anymore. Family like ours, we do not understand what is a stock right, and it is meaningless for us to discuss about that. You should directly accept it, for after all, it is not so expensive, and it's just worth millions of yuan.
Second, after I discussed with my family, I came to you. At that time, you directly made a document for me which meant to give me some power. Afterwards, I said I was new here in the company, though I was one of the shareholders. But few employees knew me. Besides, some employees had followed you for many years, while you didn't give them any house. However, you gave me 4 houses at a time, which might make others unhappy. Considering their emotions, I suggested you tell them it's out of maintenance of a relationship. Then you wrote, "Do as Mr. Chu said," on the document. After that, you called Yang Ying, Yu Tao, and your niece and asked me to handle the registration. Then, a house was withdrawn in order to help a friend. You must have known that.
Afterwards, the 3 houses were registered in Xiao Li's name. He was on a business trip to Hainan, and I failed to find other ID cards, since I had Xiao Li's ID card in hand, so I registered in her name. The process of you giving me these houses was just like this. At the beginning of 2009, you thought that I didn't follow your instructions anymore. After Hua Tai purchased a dozen of office buildings. Then you used the 400 million yuan to fix another 400 million yuan with Zheng Chen Property Management Company. You worried that I would find ways to oppose you, like lodging an appeal against you. To tell the truth, you were really over-worried. After this problem occurred, you asked Shen Jibu and Yang Ying to put me on. Then you withdrew all my reimbursement documents. You even picked holes in the staff of price-favorable houses. Finally, you made a general table listing all the problems.
When it's around March and April in 2009, you called me over seriously and said, "Qulong, you are ashamed. You have caused a loss of 60 or 70 million yuan for the company when you work as the executive director." I said, "That's impossible." Then you took out the table, including the receipts for favorable price approval of the 29 houses. I explained it to you item by item. I said you give me the 4 houses for free. Then you asked, "What about the other 25 houses?" I told you the 25 houses had been pledged to Polygroup with my guarantee because of your urgent need for money. We took the money without making a record because it's really urgent. I said it's not my duty to pay the money back if we were not able to buy the share from Polygroup and if we could not do the pre-sale registration. It was you that needed the money badly, but nobody would like to lend you the money in Beijing as you were notorious. Therefore, I had to borrow the money on behalf of you. I asked if you had regretted. You said you didn't mean that. Then we talked about the reimbursement. I told you goods that had been reimbursed were sent to your home. After we made it clear, you felt embarrassed. So you called over Yang Ying and criticized her. You told her that she speaking of me would influence the relationship between you and me, as well as the unity among leaders in the company. Your rebuke made Yang Ying silent. Seeing your behavior, I felt cold-hearted. So I said houses had been on Zheng Quan's account and could not be balanced. Besides, in the past, there were some debts between Zheng Quan and Zhong Ying, including the insurance cost of interest and the auction fee and the repairing fee of my BMW. Therefore, I suggested using the houses to repay the debt. As a result, the account between us was settled. You agreed and let Yang Ying get it done. Later, I drafted a document and started the financial process of debt repayment, transferring the houses to Zhong Ying's account. I gave the agreement to Yang Ying and didn't get it back immediately because the relationship between us was not tense. but I hadn't expected that we could fight and you would frame me up with contemptible means.
But in the retrial, both witnesses said they had lied under Guo's threats. Liu Tao confessed that Guo had signed, in fact, on the application for the transfer. He lied to Chengde police under the instruction of Guo. The signed application actually existed. On September 12th, the new verdict was issued, recognizing Chu's innocence and exposing Guo's deeds to frame Chu up. According to the new verdict, Chu's conviction for encroaching upon Zheng Qian's shares and Guo's 4 houses was not based on solid facts and sufficient evidence. The court revoked the previous verdict and pronounced Chu innocent. The verdict pointed out problems about the judicial process. The Hebei police had no power to probe the case. The venue of questioning was illegal. Mu Feng has worked as a lawyer for 30 years. He believed Chu was wronged from the beginning. This was a well-organized group crime. Their goal was to secure their interests. Each member of the group had a clear responsibility. Ma Jian of MSS organized Chu's arrest. Zhang Yue controlled the investigation. Guo Wengui benefited from all this, swallowing Chu's property and Huatai Company.
Turk Noble. You worked with Li Yao after you set me in prison. You worked in this way too. You also recalled what they said, took these things to threat. Can you even stop playing dirty these years? I thought you grew up when I was in prison. Began to earn money on your own, on your skill. But you still rely on your despicable dirty ways to get rich as you always did. Isn't this a dead end? Today I think about what you always said, the so-called blue, gold, and yellow. When you are talking about BGY, actually is talking about how you get money. Since you'd like to talk about this, I'd like to tell your BGY story to everyone on Twitter since tomorrow. How you got rich in the old days. Why the old lady Xiaoping gave her fortune to you. Xiaoping didn't trust her son. Why she trusted you? Could you tell us your relationship? Why all the money Xiaoping invested became yours in the end? I'll tell you BGY story to everyone. 1 billion RMB of Industrial and Commercial Bank of China share. Why turn into just 100 million? And you bought it? I'll tell your BGY story to everyone. How did you use the videos to threat your partner, hurt your friends, and persecute those who helped you? The dirty things between you and your female employees. How you use the blue video to control people to get more video. This is an endless chain of blackmail. I'd like to tell Guo Wengui's BGY story details to everyone on Twitter since tomorrow. Guo Wengui's own BGY story is much more interesting than what he was said on Twitter. Everyone, please be patient. I would like to share with you what Guo Wengui called the first pot of gold, 7,500 RMB. He caused infinite harm to 3 people. Who were the 3? First, his father. His father's friend gave him 7,500 RMB to buy some petrochemical products and Guo Wengui for them. Secondly, his brother, because of the crime, the 7,500 RMB cost his brother's life. Thirdly, friends. Betray the friendship of his father, the trust of his friend. I have a criminal judgment of the court of Fuyang City for the first criminal conviction of Guo Wengui, crime of fraud of 7,500 RMB. Maybe a lot of netizens have seen this sentence online, and I won't read it. 2 friends of Guo Wengui's father, Guo Jingfu, came to Fuyang to buy some petrochemical products of Zhongyuan oil field, 100 tons of number 70 gas. Guo Jingfu said, "My son knew employee of the oil field and introduced them to Guo Wengui." Guo Wengui told them, "I'm working in the oil field. Just give me the money." The 2 refused, but Guo Wengui cheated them on. He said, "I'll get you qualification certificate by the bag, and you should pay me." And they gave me 7,500 RMB. Maybe it's not a lot of money nowadays, but 7,500 RMB in 1989 means a lot of money, 2 million by now. You can buy 3 sets of house in Fuyang. Guo Wengui took the money and didn't have the ability to buy 100 tons of gasoline. Guo Jingfu's 2 friends reported the case to the police office of Fuyang City. The police office investigated Guo Wengui. 2 policemen went to his home to preach Guo Wengui. Guo Wengui didn't cooperate, beat the police, pinching the police's neck. Let his wife call his younger brother, saying, "Rob, come to help." So his brother took a knife, cut down the police without knowing the truth. The police had no way to defend themselves but to take out a gun and wound Guo's brother. Later, everyone was aware of the matter, and he was sent to the hospital. Because of the injuries, Guo Wengui's brother died in hospital. Guo Wengui's crime cost his brother's life. But what is the situation in Guo Wengui's mouth? He described that during the Tiananmen Square protests of 1989, the police shot his brother dead and took him to prison. But this paper of criminal judgment can prove that Guo Wengui was in prison during May to August. How can he go to Tiananmen Square in June? This is the trick of Guo Wengui. Because no one believed him, he had to live and make a living. so he came to Zhuhai to apply for a job. Later, he went to Miss Xiaoping's real estate company to help Miss Xiaoping to sell her house. Because Guo Wengui was very clever, he used his deception eloquence and sold the house in Zhuhai very well. Therefore, Miss Xiaoping appreciated him and trusted him. Later, he became a relatively close secretary and driver for Miss Xia. And he has a variety of duties at the same time. What's more, Miss Xia didn't even trust her own son, but let Guo Wengui manage the property. That was the source and purpose of his acquaintance with Miss Xiaoping. 9 years later, in 1995, Ms. Xia planned to develop a real estate business in big cities like Beijing and Zhengzhou in mainland China. At the same time, Zhengzhou was the hub in the central China, setting the rise of central China as its goal. Around the same time, Guo Wengui's third brother worked at the Zhengzhou Public Security Bureau. Project of Zhengzhou Government District was introduced to Guo Wengui and Miss Xiaoping. Xiaoping found the joint capital of Mr. Li Hongdao of Taiwan 101 building and founded Yuda's project company in Zhengzhou. Xiaoping let Guo Wengui take care of her own shares and Li Hongdao shares. Guo became spokesman of Xia and Li. The total investment in this project was about 1.6 billion RMB. Guo Wengui was actually a worker at the time, but Miss Xiaoping and Mr. Li Hongdao also promised to give him a stake after the building was completed. But the building met Guo Wengui originally 1.6 billion can cover the building. But Guo Wengui continuously took the money of the project to his pocket. That led to an increase in the engineering budget from 1.6 billion to 2.6 or 2.7 billion. Later, when Mr. Li Hongdao's office building was rented in Guangzhou, Guo Wengui found the local mafia to control the elevator, the entrance of basement and lobby. If you ran the office and elevator stops, you couldn't climb the 40 floors, so the building became a ghost building. No one can rent it and no one dare. So Xia and Li said, "Give my share to you and you give me my money back." But as far as I know, Miss Xia's money has not been returned. Mr. Li Hongdao cannot take back his own property and his money. He had no choice but to write a letter through the First Lady of Philippines to our Prime Minister Zhu Rongji, accusing Guo Wengui for fraud to investment funds. Then Prime Minister might tell the relevant departments to investigate Guo Wengui. Therefore, Guo Wengui committed the second crimes. He fled abroad for 2 or 3 years and then came back. After investigation, Guo Wengui reached an agreement with Li Hongdao. He pledged part of his property, might borrow some money to repay part of the money. He did not pay off now. ICBC came to take the building back, and Guo Wengui did the same thing. Organizing some mafia to plug up the elevator, the lobby was closed and no one could stand it. There is no way, no one dared to buy, even if ICBC's claims are withdrawn and nobody wants it. So ICBC didn't sell it, and the debt was always there. Till Guo Wengui sent me to prison in 2011, the building was worth $1 billion. Later, Guo Wengui transferred the building to Great Wall Asset Management Company. About $1 billion came.
Guo Wengui might have bought it back with 100 million. So Guo Wengui robbed the property of businessmen, the country's loan resources, robbed the billion assets from the state, and embezzled some 1.6 billion foreign assets, and the building became Mr. Guo Wengui's. It was such a process. Today, let's continue. Guo Wengui's project of Yuda was the simple peasant of BGY plan. All the people were fooled by him. A few buildings have been built for the resettlement project, but who are living in? Not the people that the nation settled. Actually, other people share the surname Guo. For example, Mr. Guo's elder brother, second brother, third, fourth, fifth, sixth brother all lived there, and no person owns more than one suit. Some local people also lived in. The living area is not as big as the contract promised. They asked for compensation. What to do? Alas, that's why the Guo Wengui raises so many mafia. They feel the glue in your claw. You can't open the door. Put some pig's blood on your door the next day, and pour a barrel of dung in front of your door if you don't give in, or throw a snake into your window. There's no way local people can live here. There are two buildings behind Henan Yuda Hotel. The local people rarely lived in. If any, they were shooted away. Let's see how Guo Wengui made his fortune and became rich. Everybody knows Guo Wengui's Henan Yuda Real Estate Company, divided into two parts. One is office building, the other is five-star hotel, and Yuda Guo Mao Hotel is the best in Zhengzhou. So far, the enterprise keeps losing money, have never been profitable. Whether from the industrial and commercial tax data or from Guo Wengui's words, but why Guo Wengui will have the money? When Guo got the dilapidated renovation project of Zhengzhou government district, he began to take kickbacks. Guo Wengui put his 6 brothers in different positions, for example, in the budget department, engineering department. From the first prize soil digging, Guo's family is laundering money. Probably dig a patch of worth 1 RMB, and his budget could become 4 RMB. In calculation process, Guo made black-white contracts. He said the stone imported from Italy. Actually, it is likely to be the stone material of Yunnan and Guangxi province. The price difference is large. For example, a square meter of domestic stones worth 200 RMB, and the import ones worth 2,000 RMB, 10 times. Such as firefighting equipment, pipes, and sanitary ware. The imported materials are several times or even 10 times the price of domestic materials. Gradually, Guo Wengui probably washed out 1.6 billion RMB in such way. This was Guo Wengui's first bucket of gold. After the money laundering, eventually the project could not be completed. The businessman had to agree with him to take Yuda property to pledge loan. Total amount is about 2.6 billion RMB also. I think Mr. Guo took 1.6 billion RMB in his pocket. The project budget, according to our country quota standards, is roughly 1,000 RMB per square meter also. I don't recall detailed figures. If decorate includes the glass, curtain, wall, and the best ingredients, plus 1,500, the total cost is 2,500. Plus the interior of the 5-star rooms, $1,500, less than $4,000, more than 1,000 is about 5,000. The size of Yuda Guo Mao Hotel is 1 or 1.2 million square meters. so we can have the simple calculation. 5,000 RMB per square meter multiplied by 100,000 square meters. The total budget at most is 500 to 600 million. Why came 2.6 billion? This is the way Guo Wengui laundering money. It doesn't matter if Yunda closed down, but I'm rich, I'm ready. That was Guo Wengui's first bucket of gold. He told you that he never used the money from mainland China. What about ICBC loan? He said, I've never used any other people's money. They are all my money. You wash out money, enrich your own pocket. If you didn't wash money, where did you get the money to build the Shihe courtyard, to buy the Henderson shopping center, to buy Rolls Royce? None of these items were spent on Yuda's project. This is what Guo Wengui calls the second bucket of gold. How he used the dirty money to buy his property in Beijing, his luxury car, and courtyard house in a prime location. Today I will share with you the 5 principles of Guo Wengui, how to use the 5 principles to hunt officials and partners. These 5: form, lie, use, control, kill. During the process of building the hotel, Wang Youjie, the city mayor of Zhengzhou, held a conference on investment promotion. At the meeting, Guo Wengui praised Wang, saying he was the leader of Zhengzhou. If Zhengzhou leaves the person, what will it be? Disgusting words repeated over and over. At last, Wang was pleased, and he was very impressed by Guo Wengui. Later, when the hotel was completed, Guo Wengui tried to phone on Wang. Yuda Hotel is next to the government of Zhengzhou, and Wang's home is also there. Wang had to go by the courtyard every day after work. Guo set a telescope upstairs and observed Guang every day. He looked through his binoculars to see Wang going home and called to invite him to the hotel. Thus, Wang also felt that it's hard to reject, so he came. When they got closer, Guo Wengui persuaded. Well, I know the super class pool, gym and sauna. In fact, he wants to take down Wang. He may use the lady in sauna, club, restaurant and his female secretaries to take Wang sex videos. Who knows that Wang was not interested? What to do next? The 5 principles, number 2, began to work. Guo started to lie. You see, that I invited the officials from above. They stay in my hotel. Your career can count on me, brother. Guo even invited Wang to his home in Beijing. Guo said the wife of a certain leader came here to swim suddenly. Wang should hide. Do you have any future problems, like our relations? Wang Youjie was suspicious of him. Guo always lies. When I was in the big leader's house, the big leadership lady to peel the apple for me. Because of me, your future is bright. Wang trusted him on certainty. Why did Guo Wengui cheat on Wang? Because the Zhengzhou Yuda project. Guo Wengui washed money, so he owed a lot of money to the engineering material suppliers. There were about 100 lawsuits, big or small. The creditor forced the door. He can't run the project normally. And Yuda lost the money and his capital chain faced a secondary fracture. At this time, he asked Wang to help him, asking for bank loan.
Wang spoke to the leader of ICBC to help Guo. ICBC later lent 600 million RMB to his hotel. So Guo Wengui can survive, but he felt that he could not control Wang. Why? The truth would soon be in the air, as Yu Da had been losing money from the opening. The interest of loans was 10%, 60 million RMB each year. The income of Yu Da can't reach 60 million RMB. The profit space was only 10 million or 20 million. The hotel made a loss every year. It couldn't pay up the interest, let alone the cost. When problems occur, Wang would have to blame him. Guo continued to curry favor with Wang. Wang had only one son. Guo kept the phone on him and offered all kinds of entertainment. Finally, Guo told the kid that you should work with me. My big boss was in Hong Kong. This kid, Wang Kai, was persuaded. He told his father, and Wang Youjie agreed. Then Guo Wengui thought paying salary to Wang's son meant no interest relation. He asked Wang to invest and promised to give Wang 50% stake in Yu Da Company. Later, the kid went back to tell his father. Wang felt excited. Then, Wang told Guo Wengui, brother, I have to tell you the truth. I do have some money. People give me holiday gifts and glove money. Might be more than 1,000. I will give you all. You just take care of my son. Take care of my money. That's what I saved all my life. Guo Wengui says, okay, no problem. My elder brother, you give all to me. Trust me. Wang then passed the money to Guo Wengui. The kid Wang Kai was also very capable. Yu Da improved in his hand. That it's time to keep Guo Wengui's promise, to give the shares to Wang. Guo Wengui was worried. He didn't want to keep the promise. Guo Wengui's way is regardless of the promise. He started to try to take Wang down. Just in time, the CCDI began to clean up corruption in China. Guo Wengui knew that the opportunity came. He organized all Wang Youjie's transfer record, sent the materials to commission for discipline inspection departments. Then CCDI carried on investigation to Wang and punished him. Why did he do this? To remove Wang as threat, to avoid giving the shares. The loan was done. You are useless. After he controlled the people, finally he kills. This is the meanness of Guo Wengui and the coolest side of his humanity. At the beginning, he pleases you, lies to you, uses you, controls you, and when you get out of control or become useless, he kills you. Guo Wengui is in the United States. The so-called Guo's 7 principles are nothing new to me. In the United States, I see it as the same, and now please American media and officials. Lie to them. I have that in my hand, to take advantage of person not knowing the truth. Pay the media, the fake Twitter's army, get some evidence to control them. If you do not obey, he will kill. Wang's fate may be the fate of the media and officials that he used in the United States. In China, there were Wang Youjie, Shi Fangliang. the former director of Department of Traffic of Henan Province, Ma Jian, Zhang Yue, Meng Huijing from CPC Central Commission. Guo's 7 principles are false. Guo's 5 principles are true. This is the principle and basis of Guo Wengui's real life. After Guo Wengui got the money, he organized a security team, more than 100 men, but less than 200. He claimed the team was for security, but it's actually Guo Wengui's private army. The security team consists of bullies and ex-felons. How did Guo Wengui organize these people and make them work for him? That's because of the key person, Zhao Guangdong. He was a former security chief in a big mineral factory, and he has some working experience as police, which gave him strong investigation and anti-investigation ability. He trained the security team and gave them ability to execute. He was a very strong man. He was like Zhao Zilong, innocent in appearance but cruel inside. He also helped Guo Wengui to commit a lot of crimes. I'm going to tell you why Guo Wengui organized his security team. Is there any other function on top of securing his own safety? To sum up, this security team, the evil force, had 5 main functions. The first part was security, and of course, we'd already talked about it. He's worried about revenge. He's worried about security. That's part 1. The second function was the intimidation, persecuting the masses, such as the demolishment of Guo village. Villagers gave life and money to Guo Wengui, but Guo Wengui gave them no houses, nor corresponding compensation. What's worse, Guo Wengui drove them out of the so-called shelter, putting glue into their door lock, putting snake into their shelter. All was done by his security team, his evil forces. The third function was to push back construction and prices and material suppliers. In the process of money laundering, Guo had used the judicial means to set traps to make construction companies that worked for him, in the end, unable to work or get the money. Of course, none of those companies would leave, so what would he do? He sent the security team, plus some unemployed people, to use violence to get rid of the companies. Driving people away was the third function. The fourth function was the illegal detention of his own staff and the so-called social opposition. According to media reports of illegal detention, such as putting people in the mountains for a few days and getting them into a house for a few days and then beating them up, Guo Wengui's method was very professional. He illegally detained people in his hotel, making it difficult for the public security authorities to check. I can now provide a clue to the public security authorities. If the employees in the company were staying in Guo's hotel for 3 days or more, they must be detained by Guo Wengui. Although this method was difficult to verify, now the public security organs had already investigated and made clear some cases. The fifth function was to organize or force his dancehall sauna rooms and dining room service personnel to engage in prostitution or fundraising, in order to win and corrupt the so-called partners and hound the officials. Moreover, these evil forces, under the leadership of Zhao Guangdong, were highly trained and had strong executive ability. This group was fundamentally different from the laid-off people of the society, which had stable income and economic resources, and had very strict organizational structure. These were just some of the things Guo Wengui had done with the evil forces, and I'll tell you some more about Guo Wengui's deeper things. In addition to his illegal activities at the grassroots level, Guo had used the so-called blue, gold, yellow method to hunt some top judicial officials.
For example, Ma Jian, the former vice minister of MSS, Zhang Yue, the former secretary of politics and the law committee of Hebei province, Gao Hui, the former section-chief of MSS, and Meng Huijing, the former section-chief of the Central Commission of Discipline Inspection.
Guo Wengui used his BGY means to hunt these people and then used his evil forces to interact with these people in order to encroach other people's private properties and even state-owned assets. Because of Guo Wengui's framing, I was sentenced to 15 years in prison and confiscated all the property. I was framed by his alleged judicial methods. How did I get framed? He instructed Zhao Guangdong and his lawyers to fabricate my black materials about drugs, gangsters, and guns. All these things were done by Guo Wengui, but he said those illegal steps were done by his friends, partners, and even those whose properties were wanted by Guo Wengui. He would report you to the police and revenge on you. After the black materials were ready, Guo Wengui found Ma Jian and Zhang Yue. My case had experienced several public security organs before I was caught in Chengde of Hebei province. My first charge was probably in Beijing Capital International Airport Public Security Bureau, which accused me of monopoly the airport freight market, as well as the illegal possession of guns. But I had never been to the capital airport except for taking plane.
After the approval of the superior leaders like Ma Jian and Zhang Yue, the Public Security Bureau must investigate.
If you have a source, you have to investigate.
Once again, they handed over their instructions to the General Administration of Customs, which charged me with smuggling, saying that my Beijing BMW car service company was smuggling auto parts. Through this method, by Ma Jian, Zhang Yue, and Meng Huijing, my case was instructed to Tianjin Public Security Bureau, the Beijing Public Security Bureau, Zhengzhou's the Public Security Bureau of Henan Province, Bureau of Inner Mongolia, finally, through Zhang Yue's instructions, to the Chengde Public Security Bureau of Hebei Province. They fabricated false charges to me. Through false accusation, successfully sent me into prison.
Guo Wengui used the BYG to hunt officials. Guo Wengui instructed the evil forces to make fake materials to crush merchants and partners, forcing them to transfer their assets to him. If they didn't, they would end like me. That's just the part. Let me give you one more example. We all know about Guo Wengui's purchase of China Minzu Securities. Because of Guo Wengui's repetitive harassment, I reported Guo Wengui's purchase of China Minzu Securities to the relevant department. At that time, he also took advantage of the relationship with Ma Jian and Gao Hui of MSS. He took a letter from MSS to the major shareholder of Minzu Securities, Capital Airport Company, and even CAAC, the company's higher-level administration. In the name of his so-called contribution to state security, Guo Wengui asked the shareholders to sell their shares to his company. At that time, when the Capital Airport Company and the CAAC transferred the shares, SASAC demanded that the shares should be publicly traded in the Big Four exchanges to ensure their value increase. Once again, Guo Wengui, through the relationship with Ma Jian and Zhang Yue, obtained state security letters issued by Gao Hui and other people. Guo Wengui handed the materials to Beijing SASAC, and Beijing Property Exchange to set up many of the so-called takeover barriers to force the company out of the deal. As a result, these assets cannot be publicly traded in value-added sales, resulting in billions of losses in the country. Although Guo Wengui bought a stake at a cheap price, other shareholders still had the priority to get the transfer. Minzu Securities also had other shareholders, such as Xinhua Insurance. Therefore, Guo Wengui instructed Zhao Guangdong and other evil forces to take photos of shareholders' children, send photos to their families, and knock on their doors at night. When those evil methods had not been responded, Gao Hui, the section director, took official letters to negotiate with some of the shareholders. Gao said the shareholders had to keep the shares off because of national interests. Gao used the so-called judicial coercion and deterrence to force other shareholders to quit, causing the losses. After all this, Guo Wengui smoothly got China Minzu Securities cheaply.
Can know the true color of him through this case. Guo Wenhui's turning point, as well as the starting of his fortune. How did Guo Wenhui start his business in Beijing? Perhaps all of you know is Pangu Plaza, which Guo Wenhui often showed off internationally. A 666-meter-long dragon corridor, the dragon-shaped building, the design by Li Zuyuan, master of the world totem construction, the air quadrangle, the 7-star hotel, IBM moving into his office building, are all that Guo Wenhui used to show off. But does anyone know the story ahead of Pangu Plaza? Does anyone know it? It had two different names before Pangu. Today, I'd like to share with you the story. The earliest investigator of this project was Wenmao Investment Consulting Company. What is the source of Wenmao? Wen represented Guo Wenhui and Mao represented Zhu Shi Mao, a famous comedian of that time. They started Wenmao Investment Consulting Company with joint investment, which was Pangu's project predecessor. At that time, Zhu Shimao introduced many celebrities, both from political and business circles, to Guo Wenhui. However, these people didn't help him in business, as well as the real estate business. So, he decided to cheat the government with the identity of a foreign businessman of abundant capital. He got a good piece of land by cheating Beijing municipal government. What's his plan? You can't even imagine how deep his thought was and how crafty his scheme was. Then came the second name of Pangu, Beijing Morgan Investment Company. How did the company start? In fact, Guo Wenhui's Morgan Company had nothing to do with the Morgan family in America. It was just a scheme of Guo Wenhui. Guo Wenhui registered a small company called AC Morgan in America. All of us know that Morgan is just a family name, which is common as Zhang Wang Li Zhao in China. He used Morgan to register a company and get an authoritative file. The file authorized Wenmao Investment Consulting Company to invest into Beijing Morgan Finance Center project. Guo Wenhui also brought this file to State Administration for Industry and Commerce, fabricating a registered capital through some agencies, increasing from the original 6 million to 90 million RMB, according to my impression. Then he got the title of Beijing Morgan Investment Company and the authoritative files given by a foreign company. With the influence of Morgan on international finance and the recognition of the world's largest finance company, Chaoyang District Government which was building CBD, provided a very excellent project in the area of Asian Sports Village. That was the project of Pangu Plaza, which is on the west of Bird's Nest and the Water Cube. Originally, it was an advanced flat project belonging to Huahui Real Estate Company subject to Chaoyang District Government. Later, Chaoyang District Government transferred the project to Wengui's Beijing Morgan Investment Company at a very low price. During this process, Wengui had few money. Probably he paid subscription of 12 million RMB. He even told the district government that it needed some time for a new joint venture to submit foreign capital to China and asked if the government could approve the project and put it into operation in advance. As the government leaders paid high attention to this project and didn't doubt that Guo Wenhui would not give the money and Guo did not have the money. They not only did not charge Guo Wenhui land leasing fees, but also lent him 240 million RMB. It was due to Guo Wenhui's scheme that he could be temporarily exempt from the land leasing fees and get starting payment of construction. All the above were the reason why Pangu Plaza changed its name for the second time. Why would the project rename for the third time? Since Guo Wengui did not have enough money and his financial chain broke, the project was taken away by the government. After Liu Hua event, the project was returned to Guo Wengui again. However, Guo Wengui was not allowed to use the name of Morgan because Guo Wengui's AC Morgan had nothing to do with the real Morgan family. Then, Guo Wengui renamed the project to Pangu Plaza.
Guo Wengui currently makes use of cultural differences and information imbalance between China and America to swing the American government out of trust. He also dreamed of going online in his pocket through his lies. The story of Pangu Plaza and Guo Wengui's turning point in Beijing have already obviously shown his true color.
的这个转折点，就是希望两国人民和全世界人民都看清郭文贵的这个骗人的嘴脸。那么今天给大家讲
I'd like to say something about Guo Wengui's fourth month of money. It was also a construction project designed by Li Zuyuan. Guo's mansion, plane, and top sports cars were all bought with the money, mostly from his fourth month of money.
飞机甚至挥霍浪费的一些钱，高档的跑车。 那他这些钱来自哪儿呢？大部分都是来自于他的第四桶金就是
The Jingchuan Square, which was the largest complex located between the North 4th Ring Road and the North 5th Ring Road.
北四环和北五环之间最大的一个项目综合体，100万平米，有商业、酒店、写字楼这是一个最大的综合体。那这个项目
The way Guo Wengui got the project was the same with the way he got Pangu project. With the background of Morgan.
那郭文贵也是利用这个山寨摩根项目的背景
Guo Wengui got trust and the project as well. At that time, he didn't have money and could only depend on the borrowed 240 million yuan to pay the land leasing fee and start the project.
和后期的这个项目启动。那没有钱怎么办呢？他就
Since Guo Wengui had no money, he began cheating foreign merchants, including Chen Zhiyao, a famous architect.
In this project, Guo Wengui cheated thousands of villagers, house owners, real estate constructors, and material providers.
千户业主几百家的房地产建筑商、材料供应商。这个项目
As a result, there has been hundreds of civil lawsuits against him so far.
具体有没有刑事的我不清楚。这个民事诉讼案件几百起。
We also know that Guo Wengui faces a lot of criminal and civil lawsuits, such as defrauding Agriculture Bank of China of 32 million yuan, and the Construction Bank of China of 500 million yuan. As for this case, he promised to give Chen Zhiyao certain percent of shares, management fees, and the salary of millions of yuan if Chen helped him manage the project.
郭文贵取得这个政权项目以后他现在呢就是刚才讲了，就是没有钱，他没有钱怎么办？他就是承诺给这个陈志尧股份。 那承诺%多少这个我不是特别清楚，就是承诺股份，你来帮我管理建设这个项目，我呢给你分一定比例股份，然后每年管理费用不低于几百万上千万的工资。那这个陈志尧
Acting on profits, Chen Zhiyao did him a favor.
来到这个政权项目，帮郭文贵来打理这个项目。
Chen Zhiyao sold his properties in Taiwan and collected near 100 million yuan to invest into this project. But Guo Wengui found ways to record some indecent videos of Chen.
在他的管理下呢，就是这个商业部分得以完成。那郭文贵呢，还是这个通过他的这种蓝金黄的手段录制了陈志尧先生的一些不雅视频吧。
Additionally, Guo Wengui exaggerated Chen's interaction with material providers and reported Chen saying he embezzled money of material providers with the convenience of his position, just like what he did on May.
利用职务便利侵占什么材料商、供应商多少钱
Then Chen was forced to go back to Taiwan. Finally, Guo Wengui embezzled Chen's money. This was his first illegal income.
这样呢，就黑掉了这陈志尧先生建设的用自己的钱建设的这个商业物业部分。这是所谓这个他的第一桶黑金黑道。那么第二桶黑金呢，就是
His second illegal income came from this. After driving Chen Zhiyao back to Taiwan, Guo Wengui introduced a strategic partner, Poly Group, and pledged 80% shares in exchange of a loan of 1.6 billion yuan. As to the money, 800 million yuan was used for construction, while the rest was used for Pangu project. Just because of Poly's management and construction, the project was finally finished and sold.
保利的管理、保利的建设这个住宅呢得以主体完工，能够顺利的销售。
While selling those apartments, Guo Wengui cheated hundreds of house owners. The opening price of his project was 7,000 yuan per square meter, and 2 buildings were sold to about 300 house owners. In May 2008, Guo Wengui pledged Pangu Plaza and bribed some officials like Ma Jian to pressure Poly into transferring the 80% shares to him.
他蓝金黄黑为例的这些高官中纪委的孟慧清给这个保利集团施加压力，让保利
After getting the shares, Guo Wengui wanted to break the contract and sell the apartment at a higher price, for the average price in Beijing increased to 12,000 yuan per square meter. If he broke the contract, he could earn extra millions. This event caused thousands of house owners to parade on the street, appealing to the municipal government as well as Beijing Capital Construction Commission for help. When the house owners surrounded Guo Wengui's house, he had already gone abroad in order to avoid this incident. At that time, I worked as the company's executive director. I insisted a regional price and did registration for them. However, the house owners couldn't move in for all kinds of reasons, including the break of fund chain.
种种原因吧，当时这个资金链断裂资金不足各个方面的原因，这个导致呢，就是说销售出去的这个楼，包括这个几百名业主
Some were delayed for several months, while some were delayed for a year. According to articles on the contract, house owners should be paid for the loss caused by the delay. Guo Wengui preferred lawsuit rather than direct compensation because some house owners would like to withdraw the lawsuit to save effort. Besides, Guo Wengui has some interest costs and capital costs if he compensated for the delay directly.
还有些业主呢，他不愿意打官司，这有一个概率问题。比如有1000个业主要打官司，可能其中有700愿意打，可能有300个不愿意打。
In this way, he saved nearly 100 million yuan. This was Guo Wengui's personality. He was so greedy that he wanted to grab every cent.
Before Chen Zhihao was kicked out of Guo Wengui's group, those construction companies, including construction providers and electronic construction enterprises, didn't obtain any money. They even failed to recoup the costs. Guo Wengui had long used hundreds of thugs he hired to kick out partners. After kicking out the old partners, he would take beats for a second time, cooperating with new material suppliers to continue the construction. Besides, thousands of villagers had once seized Guo Wengui, which was due to Guo Wengui's embezzling the transfer fees, a sum of money that should have been used as the villagers' compensation and the project funds of building a settlement for those villagers. Of course, Guo Wengui eventually didn't give the money to villagers or build a settlement, leading to hundreds of people's homelessness and demonstration. This was the true story that Guo Wengui cheated hundreds of villagers. At the very beginning, Guo Wengui asked his friend Guan Hanqiao, a supervisor of Minzhu Securities and an insider of the securities industry, to negotiate with Capital Airport Holding Company on behalf of Pangu Investment Company and Zhengchuan Real Estate Company in the name of Ministry of the State Security. Along with him was Gao Hui, a section director from MSS. But their request was rejected by the Capital Airport Holding Company. I thought Pangu Investment Company and Zhengchuan Real Estate Company were property developers, which didn't have the qualification of acquiring financial shares. After Guan Hanqiao told Guo Wengui the situation, Guo Wengui discussed what to do next with Guan Hanqiao and Gao Hui. Then they came to me for help because I had joined in investment and development company, which was qualified to acquire financial shares. So in his second negotiation with Capital Airport Holding Company, Guan Hanqiao's title was the general manager of Zhongyin Investment and Development Company. What was the same with the last negotiation, where Gao Hui took his officer identification and an official letter. He told them they must cooperate and threatened they would bear serious consequences if they didn't. As Zhongyin Company had the qualification, Capital Airport Holding Company talked with Guan Hanqiao and initially reached an agreement. But the negotiation revolved around the model of state-owned enterprises transferring assets, where Guan Hanqiao couldn't realize his objective because he wanted to get the shares with negotiated parity. In June 2009, I used 400 million yuan of Huatai but didn't pay it back. Guo Wengui and I diverged greatly on this issue. After that, Guo Wengui couldn't use my Zhongyin investment company, and I wanted him to keep it off. At the end of 2009, when the negotiation was almost closing, Guan Hanqiao gave him a new idea. Although we don't have the qualification, we can become a minority shareholder of Minzhu Securities first, and then we will have the priority to purchase shares from the majority shareholders. Then Guo Wengui turned to Zhang Yue, secretary of Hebei Politics and Law Committee, a member in his criminal group. With Zhang Yue's help, Guo Wengui got a share of a little over 6% of Minzu Securities from Shijiazhuang Commercial Bank, originally the fourth largest shareholder of Minzu Securities. Directed by Ma Jian, the vice minister, Gao Hui took an official letter issued by Ministry of State Security and commanded Shijiazhuang Commercial Bank to sign an agreement with Beijing Zhiquan Real Estate Company and transfer the shares to it. Hebei Political and Law Committee went between the two parties. Finally, Guo Wengui's criminal group became minority shareholder of Minzu Securities under the disguise of Zhengquan Real Estate Company. In 2010, they began the second step, acquiring the controlling interest of China Minzu Securities. That meant they would purchase the shares held by Capital Airport Holding Company. They negotiated with it again in the name of Zhengquan Company. But Capital Airport Holding Company still rejected it because Zhengquan was unqualified, which meant Zhengquan couldn't become the biggest shareholder. The official letter of MSS, Capital Airport Holding Company, reported the issue to Civil Aviation Administration, the higher level administration. They said they would agree if Civil Administration permitted the transfer. Afterwards, Gao Hui and Guan Hanqiao were rejected by Civil Aviation Administration either. Finally, they decided to turn to Ma Jian, Vice Minister of Ministry of State Security, their head. Therefore, Ma Jian met leaders in Civil Aviation Administration in person and coerced them into transferring the shares in the name of state security. Then Civil Aviation Administration and Capital Airport held a meeting on this. The result was that in order to preserve and increase state-owned assets, they could transfer the shares, but the condition was that to ensure the value of shares, public assessment and transfer must be done in the four major stock exchanges: Beijing Equity Exchange, Shanghai Union Property Exchange, Chongqing Stock Exchange, and Tianjin Exchange. Under the condition, it wouldn't be easy for Guo Wengui to get the shares at parity. If the non-listed financial equity was transferred in public, the general rate is about 5 times. If many bidders came and made a stake hot, the general rate might increase by 7 or 8 times. Then Guo Wengui wouldn't be able to afford it or earn the arbitrage, so he couldn't embezzle the state's asset. But Ma Jian came for the second time and ordered Civil Aviation Administration and Capital Airport to cooperate in the name of state security. To deal with the condition, Guo Wengui and Guan Hanqiao set up an exclusive clause which demanded that transferee should have over 1 trillion total assets and hundreds of billions of annual income. That's to say, there were only 3 enterprises that could meet the standard: the State Grid, PetroChina, and Sinopec. However, it's impossible for a large state-owned enterprise to make decisions in a short period of time to buy Minzu securities for financial stake. So, the social investment power which wanted to buy Minzu securities was foreclosed. Nobody but Guo Wengui could get the shares. Because when transferees were absent, Guo Wengui would be able to use the transferring priority of the minority shareholders. But what about the second and third largest shareholders? Guo Wengui again and again asked Gao Hui to use the official letter of MSS and threaten those shareholders in the name of state security. He asked them to quit to ensure Zhengquan Company could obtain the equity. Generally, there's a process of obtaining the equity of Minzu securities. In the name of Ministry of State Security, they drove away some shareholders and keep off investors. As a result, they smoothly got the controlling interest of Minzu Securities and embezzled state-owned enterprise worth 10 billion yuan.
拿到了这个民族证券的控股股权。在这个过程当中呢
I had tried to stop Guo Wengui. Because of this, I got in jail for more than 6 years with Guo Wengui's framing.
入狱6年多。在
Dating back to the end of 2010, Zhongyin Investment Company was a registered member unit in Beijing Stock Exchange. I found that Minzu Securities was transferring controlling interest and Guo Wengui was a transferee.
这个为了就是说
In order to prevent Guo Wengui from stealing tens of billions of state assets, I released how Guo Wengui illegally acquired Minzu Securities and embezzled assets of Huatai to the Discipline Inspection Commission of Ministry of State Security, the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection and Media, using my real name.
这件事情和侵吞华泰资产的这个事情。
After Guo Wengui's group knew it, they worried about it. So on March 31st, 2011, people from State Security Department seized me
就是安全部和郭文贵的这个私人武装吧，就将我抓捕
and transferred me to Chengde public security organs in Hebei on suspicion of illegal possession of guns. Eventually, they sentenced me with the crime of duty encroachment. The verdict was unjustified. The arrest was ridiculous. Guo Wengui's purpose was to keep me silent before April 1st, when the deal would be finished. That was one of the means to cover their criminal facts.
这就是他们犯罪集团为了掩盖他们的犯罪事实所实施的一个手段。
I hope everybody can recognize Guo Wengui's shamelessness and illegality through the story I told you. The money on his planes, mansion, and yacht were all from his criminality.
丑恶嘴脸和他在美国购置飞机购置豪宅、购置游艇这些钱的来源，都是他犯罪集团在中国攫取的黑钱，侵吞国有资产的钱，侵吞民营企业的钱。所以说
We have to know Guo Wengui's ugly face and the process he grabbed money. We must be vigilant. That's all I want to share with you guys.
这个过程一定要提高警惕。今天我跟大家就分享到这里。
There seems a second meeting between Chairman Xi Jinping and President Trump. I believe that Guo Wengui must be tense about Trump's visit.
那么呢，我想呢，现在可能这个郭文贵郭先生对这个川普总统到中国来的这件事儿也相对紧张。
However, it should be a happy event for both 1.4 billion Chinese and the US citizens. Today, I'm gonna show you something. Guess what's the building? Where is it? What's the history? How luxurious is it? When you see the picture, you might say it is just an old courtyard of Beijing or a corner of the Forbidden City. None of you can guess it. Today, I'll go on telling you the story of Guo Wengui. The courtyard is on the roof of the dragon-shaped Pangu Plaza. Guo Wengui altogether built 12 sets of sky courtyards. Up to now, I have never heard of other courtyards built at the height of hundreds of meters.
大家讲的还是郭文贵的故事。这个四合院呢，它在郭文贵。
The building is unique. Besides, the location is very advantageous. We all know that Pangu is on the west side of Bird's Nest and the Water Cube. Stand on the top of Pangu Plaza and look to the west, and you will see Xiangshan, the most beautiful place in Beijing. On the east are the main venues of Olympic Games. On its south lies the South Fourth Ring Road. On its north is the Olympic Park. The view is great, and its position is unique. Courtyards have never been built at such a height, but someone says it's nothing new but built on high buildings. I have to tell you that you're wrong.
这个等于它的南边呢就是四环路，往北望呢就是这个奥林匹克公园景观是一流的，位置是一流的，而且空中的位置是独一无二的四合院没有建在那么高的地方。大家也讲了不就是房盖上加了个建筑嘛，加了个四合院，完全不是这个状态。唐木大观的公寓大家可能有的人都知道。
The apartment of Pangu Plaza is the most luxurious unit apartment in China. Each set has 660 square meters with 2 elevators. The courtyards were built on the top of these apartments with express elevators. 2 sets of these courtyards were built together, so the total area increases to about 1,300 square meters. During the Olympic Games in 2008, it was said that Bill Gates was preparing to rent one of them. The fee was 1 million yuan per day. The news was hot on the internet. As far as I know, the rent is still between 1 million to 1.5 million per day, which hasn't been changed. The price of 1.5 million yard should be the courtyard, which has more than 1,000 square meters. To rent for a year, the price is 100 million yuan. Why do I talk about the luxury of these courtyards? Because the construction received the most flaunt of Guo Wengui and was where Guo Wengui began to make fortunes. We all know that Guo Wengui was grassroots before. Will grassroots live in such lavish courtyards? One of the functions of Guo Wengui's courtyards is for rent, another one is for sales. Now it seems that 2 foreign businessmen have purchased the 2 courtyards, 2 relatively smaller ones with an area of over 600 square meters. As far as I know, the value of each set is more than 1 billion yuan. If the 12 sets of the sky courtyards were sold out, that would be 12 billion yuan. If they were for rent, the price is just what I said. Guo Wengui used to show around every senior official and businessman who he wanted to rope in or bribe in his sky courtyards. When the visit was over, he would say, "If you enjoy it, you are free to stay here for the night." 1 night in such courtyard meant accepting Guo Wengui's favor worth 1 million. At the night, Guo Wengui would send some beauties to the room and give you some money. Actually, the courtyard was also Guo Wengui's blue. The blue meant using monitoring equipment to collect audio and video information. Even officials didn't live here. They would be recorded as long as they walked into the house. That is the function of Guo Wengui's courtyard. The value of the Red House, which was built for bribing corrupt officials a few years ago, was only 1/10 of that of Guo Wengui's sky courtyards. The sky courtyards were worth more than 10 billion yuan. Where did the money come from? Yesterday and the day before yesterday, I told you the 3rd and 4th port of gold of Guo Wengui, his Pangu project and Zhengquan project. He used AC Morgan to cheat the government and then contacted with relevant planning departments to adjust the planning through his criminal group, including Ma Jian, Zhang Yue, Meng Huiqing, Gao Hui, etc. The 12 sets of courtyards are hard evidence that his criminal group ignored the country's laws and regulations. You could imagine that the courtyards were illegal construction. Without permission of city planning department, Guo Wengui created such a mysterious blue, golden, yellow, hunting senior officials and top businessmen. Since the courtyard project was finished, Beijing Municipal Planning Commission had issued stopping orders and asked for the demolishment. However, Guo Wengui issued letters to the relevant leaders of Beijing Municipal Planning Commission and asked for resubmitting procedures for many times in the name of Ministry of State Security, with Ma Jian's help. Finally, with the coordination of these corrupt officials like Ma Jian, Beijing municipal government didn't remove the courtyard but fined some money. However, the cost was nearly zero compared with its price. In addition to the lavish decoration, which might be 10,000 yuan per square meter, the fines were 600 yuan per square meter. Besides, the land transfer fee was about 800 per square meter. Taking other expenses into consideration, altogether, the cost except for the decoration fee was less than 2,000 per square meter. Therefore, his cost was only 12,000 yuan per square meter. The 12 sets of courtyard only cost tens of millions of yuan, 1/10 of its price, but the profits were more than 10 billion. All the money was illegal money. In fact, the money was from taxpayers like you and me. He instigated those corrupt officials and used public power in their hands, impairing our country as well as we people. He evaded taxes, violated the law, and illegally cheated our money. Though the courtyard on the dragon-shaped buildings flaunted repetitively by Guo Wengui was unique all over the world, it was also a unique place of crime and money grabbing. To talk to you about what Guo Wengui called BGY. Yellow means pawn trap. Guo got a second bucket of gold and built Yuda Hotel in Zhengzhou, Henan Province. And then he made 4 kinds of pawn trap in the hotel. The first one is sauna. Secondly, the Red Hot Club. Third, he built a restaurant. 44th floor presidential suite and other catering facilities. The fourth pawn trap is which you are more interested, pawn trap of acquaintance. Say a homophonic in Chinese is pawn trap around Guo Wengui. He used the female employees or clients or lovers of his friends to control others. But Guo Wengui's goal is not simply to make money, but to hunt the officials, partners, or business leaders he needs from 4 different levels. By setting pawn trap, he will get sex videos that violated the moral principles and even legal principles to control the crowd to help him collect the money. First, let's see Guo Wengui's sauna. It was a swimming pool and equipment first level in Zhengzhou. In addition to the normal recreational program, it's the lady massage service which has sexual services. Guo Wengui used this kind of service to hunt some low-level officials. These officials take a shower after drinking too much, have sexes with the massage ladies. Guo Wengui took your indecent video. You are asking me for money? I will send the video to your wife and family. Do you dare to ask me for money? So call the trap. If he takes the video, you are down. Secondly, you need emotional interaction. Some senior officials came to his Red Hot Club and sang and drank with some ladies. After drinking too much, they might have some emotional communication. asking for sex service. Guo Wengui will also arrange special rooms for you and took your indecent video. Some people didn't fall for it. Guo Wengui would send the girls of higher knowledge to communicate and form a relationship. Only to take indecent video. They were loyal to Guo Wengui, of course. What if the night clubs couldn't capture these people? Then came Wengui restaurant. It was in Zhengzhou, the most upscale consumer place in the 1990s. He spent thousands of dollars on a table. It was characterized by a lot more restaurant manager than any other restaurant. These restaurant managers were married young women, higher educated, having the life of family pressure. There was no or very low base salary. They had to make money by commission. They had to drink with the guests, forced by life. Every day they drank to the diarrhea and vomiting, ruining themselves. But we think these five-star restaurant managers were very good and intellectual women. So a lot of businessmen and officials would have some interaction with these people. Guo Wengui had used these relationships to gather information, forced these managers to have sex with officials. That's even more. Guo Wengui has a relationship with his secretary Wang and Ma, some of whom were willing, some were forced. Guo's idea was that having sex, the woman would obey me. What's more, he slept with his partner and friend's women. He sent his partner Li You's girlfriend to steal the business information from Li and completely destroy Li You spiritually. Your woman sleeps with me. You are totally useless. This is a kind of biggest insult to men. This is Guo controlling the staff around him. It was his way of getting black gold, sending female employees to his important customers and to make more money. Most of his business partners cooperated with him because of sex videos. Later, it was the same way to do it. Yuda Palace Hotel was the designated reception site of Henan Province's transportation department in those days. Shi Fangliang often received guests there, so he got to know Guo Wengui. How did Guo trick Shi? Wang Youjie, the secretary of Zhengzhou Municipal Committee, and Shi Fangliang wanted to make friends with Wang Youjie. Guo Wengui said Wang was his good friend, and Wang's success was due to Guo's arrangement.
后来郭文贵就跟这个石厅长说啊，石厅长，你放心吧，这个王小杰书记啊是咱们的哥们儿，是咱们好朋友啊。他的这个当书记，包括他的升迁啊，全是靠老弟啊帮他安排，帮他办的。
Shi did not believe him because Guo Wengui was just a common businessman.
你怎么还能这个给管这个郑州市委书记的升迁？说你这个
Guo Wengui said, "I can keep Wang on call."
随叫随到啊，叫这个王书记来就能来。
郭文贵 used the usual methods.
楼上呢用望远镜盯着啊，让别的保安监控着。
He arranged security guards to monitor Wang's work and home time, and then called Wang to invite him to dinner or swim.
来了啊，给你炖汤喝，过来吧。然后咱这游泳池新换的水，过来游泳吧。
Guo said that Wang reported to him as Wang went home from work.
他什么时间到家什么时候进门的，每1分钟进门，什么时候下班，他都得跟我汇报。
Every time when Guo let 释放亮 call
下班
Wang,
跟他汇报不现实。后来就跟石发亮说啊，不管石发亮在裕达吃饭也好，或者在办公室也好，也给石经长打电话。石经长，你这会儿你就给那个王书记打电话，他就在家呢。
Wang had just arrived home. Wang Youjie was good at chatting, said to Shi, "We have a lot of faith. Every time you call me, I just got house." After that, Shi Fanliang especially adored Guo Wengui, and they often went to dining and entertainment places together. Shi wanted to make friends with Guo and hoped that Guo could help him get a promotion.
将来的升迁什么也能得到一些帮助，也想交一个有实力、有背景的这样一个朋友，跟郭文贵就成哥们儿。
The reason Guo wanted to get close to Shi
有事儿，实际上为啥要交史发亮这个朋友？他有求于。
was because billions of highway construction funds were managed by Shi.
每年这些养路费款呢和国家拨下来一些这个修建高速公路的一些费用，几十亿上百亿都在他手里。
That hotel had been at a loss since 2000.
裕达酒店呢，实际上从建成到一直到经营到就认识史发亮的时候，大概是2000年，是2001年。他就急于呢就把剩下一点的物业，可能大概
And Guo was eager to sell some properties, so Guo asked the Henan Zhongyuan Company,
下边那个控股公司有中原高速公司中原高速公路那个控股公司
which was managed by Shi, to buy several floors as offices.
在我这儿买几层楼买几层楼。
Because of the alleged violation, Shi refused Guo's request politely. After many rejections,
自己有办公楼，当时立项的时候都批了，都建了楼了，不能再买这违规这忙我帮不了你。
Guo was worried that the company would go into liquidation. In order to achieve his
请我
goal,
吃我就吃，请我喝我就喝，请我游泳我就游就是这事儿不给他办。后来老郭就急了，老郭这个卖不出去楼拿不回钱了，这公司眼看就倒闭了数十起民事官司诉讼什么的。
Guo used the
急于的
blue,
把这个
gold,
变现。
yellow
那怎么
method.
办呢？这时候呢就给这个史发亮码了个套。这回呢就是说就用到郭文贵咱们前面讲到的这个蓝金黄，这回他就用他的黄就是歌厅的小姐、桑拿的小姐这个餐厅的这个所谓高级经理，他身边所谓的锅边黄
He arranged prostitutes and other women to drink and have sex
高知女性吧就是这个请这个
with
石
Shi
厅长喝酒
in the hotel
就
room,
开始做局。
in which
最后呢，
installed
就
a
是说
hidden
这些人
camera.
呢，就跟石厅长在一起喝酒唱歌最后把石厅长就喝多了。喝多了呢，他就这个在裕达就给开了个客房，客房里面就提前呢就是装了这个摄像设备。装了摄像设备以后呢，石厅长上
Guo
去以后
Wengui
呢
threatened Shi Fanliang with a videotape and asked Shi to buy Yuda Palace Hotel for 10,000 RMB per square meter.
把这个视频就录下来，全程拍下来。拍了以后呢，这石厅长也不清楚。然后第二天呢，郭文贵等着这个石厅长醒了酒，郭文贵就去找他，说石厅长你还得帮我就把我这楼还得卖给你。史发亮跟他讲，说这个我不可能帮你因为我们这个高速公路公司都建了这个办公楼了，别的忙还可以，这忙帮不了你。也就一口
But the
又回
market
去
price
郭文贵
was
郭文贵
5,000
说
RMB per
说我
square
现在这
meter.
房就在郑州我们对外销售是5000块钱，然后呢，你不用多给我，你给我15000就行，我就卖给你。史发亮就急了说这个我这文贵你这个什么意思
If
你
Shi
耍我玩呢？你卖
didn't do
5000卖
that,
不出去，你卖
Guo
我
would
卖
send
15000
a video to
我
Shi's
是什么？
wife.
我是大头是什么呀？然后呢，这个郭文贵就跟这个史发亮讲说，石厅长，我觉得这事儿行，我给你看一样东西以后，你一定说行。史发亮说你给我看什么东西，我也不想看。后来郭文贵就说你别走，我给你
If
看一
Shi
个。
didn't
他
do
就把
that,
昨天晚
Guo
上这
would
个
send a
史
video
发亮先
to
生
Shi's
这个
wife
所谓
and even
这
expose
个
it to the
裕达
public.
小姐拍的这个黄片上床的这个视频给史发亮看了，说石厅长，你看现在这个我这楼值不值15000？这史发亮就无语了，说你如果是不买我这个楼我今天我就把这个视频把这录像送给你夫人，让你这个家就破了。如果你再不就范明天我就把这个东西 公诸于世啊，让你身败名裂，哎，看你这官还能不能当成。这18亮没办法。
Shi Fangliang was afraid Guo Wengui releasing the videos would damage his family and career. So, in 2000, Shi unwillingly arranged an acquisition of Yuda Palace Hotel.
没有办法啊，就开始这个就是指派啊他亲属啊控制的这个公司啊，就中原高速公司。
Three-story office at about 4,000 square meter,
大概4000多平米吧，花了总价
worth 70 million RMB, 40,000 RMB per square meter, purchased by Henan Zhongyuan Company, which was owned by his relatives. In 2010, before I was put into prison, although housing prices continued to rise, Henan Zhongyuan Express Company was still at a loss of over 30 million RMB, a window into Guo Wengui's loathsome face. In later days, Guo Wengui used the threat of Shi's sex tape to force Shi to do many things for him. For instance, he had asked Henan Zhongyuan Express Company to buy him luxury cars. Guo Wengui threatened that if Shi disobeyed him, he would release the sex videos and Shi would lose his job and reputation. Guo had been using 5 means against officials over the years, including flattering, fooling, taking advantage of, controlling, and toppling them. Guo did the same to then leader of Political and Legal Affairs Commission in Hebei Province, Zhang Yue. Guo offered Zhang Yue prostitutes and recorded them sleeping together. Zhang came to Guo as soon as he could, every time he was caught. 5 means Guo used to manipulate officials and business companies came to be called Guo's 5.
As I know, Guo Wenhui escaped abroad for 4 times because of criminal investigation. Guo Wenhui's first escape was after a man accused him of defrauding foreign capital. The case was paid high attention by national leaders because in this case, merchants from Taiwan was defrauded. The fraud case then was sent to related departments for rapid investigation. Hearing a talk of the case, instead of handling this problem, Guo Wenhui chose to escape. He had been captured by police and sentenced by courts before, so he feared to be sent to prison again and escaped as soon as possible. Sarcastically, he even didn't know which case it was, as he had done a lot of illegal stuff. Guo Wenhui's second escape was because of his failing to pay. In 2003, Guo was doing real estate business, but he didn't have money and swindled 2 projects in the name of JP Morgan. In other words, he decided to gain something from nothing. After swindling 2 projects, he looked for construction companies to fill up the money. Finally, the finance chain broke in 2005, as everyone had known what a man he was and would not lend him any money. At this juncture, Guo Wenhui sought my help. He said, "President Xu, could you lend me some money?" At that time, in our company account, there was a sum of loan from Hunan Changfeng Company, which was over 100 million RMB, and it could be appropriated. Since he asked me for help, I communicated with other company leaders and we agreed to lend him the money on condition that he return it back within a month.
过了3个多月呢，就是说这个湖南长丰公司就向这个湖南公安厅报案，当时湖南这个公安厅的经侦总队啊就把我带到湖南啊，就是采取了强制措施。我在湖南待了9个月。那郭文贵听到这个事件以后呢，他不是说啊就筹钱去解决这个问题，第一时间湖南公安厅把我带走，他就跑了。
Then we signed a 1-month lending contract, charging few interests. Having got this money, Guo didn't pay land leasing fees as he had told us. Instead, he used the money to pay some debts, and he failed to pay it back in a month. 3 months later, Hunan Changfeng Company reported the case to Hunan Public Security Department. Then the Economic Investigation Detachment did coercive measures on me and held me in custody for 9 months. However, hearing that I was captured, Guo escaped to Hong Kong and the US the first time, instead of raising money to solve this problem. 9 months later, I was released. After getting out, I collected some money. Guo Wenhui, who ensured that he would not get involved into the case, got back and gave me some money. He told me that he had no choice but to escape because the situation was serious if both of us got captured. He was good at saying fair words. When confronting problems, he never took any responsibility while let his friends and brothers bear the burden. Finally, he used any excuse he could use to justify his escape and tempt me into cooperating with him again. Cheating was Guo Wenhui's talent. Why did Guo Wenhui escape for the third time? As is known, Guo Wenhui framed the case against me and sent me into prison just in order to grab the shares of Huatai Company and assets of Zhongying Company. In 2012, Guo Wenhui had disputes with Zhao Yun'an on controlling interests of Huatai Company and with Zheng Jiefu and Xie Jiansheng, the boss of Kalai Hotel in Jiaozuo, Henan Province. After I was sent to prison in the same year, Public Security Bureau investigated into the case again. Guo Wenhui heard the talk, but he didn't know the origin of the case and could not ensure whether it's related to him. He thought I combined with Zheng Jiefu and Xie Jiansheng to reverse the case, so he escaped the first time. Police investigation showed that it had nothing to do with him, so he came back sometime later. As for the case, it's hard to further the investigation because of jurisdiction or some other problems. Guo Wenhui's last escape was due to his disagreement on business with Li Yao, president of Peking University Founders Securities. They accused each other of illegal acts and crimes. Hearing such news, Guo chose to escape without hesitation. Then, Li Yao accused Ma Jian, vice minister of NSD, the elder brother of Guo Wenhui, and Zhang Yue, secretary of the Political and Judiciary Commission of Hebei Province. Instead of sharing burdens for his elder brother, helping Ma Jian explain something to related department, and taking his own responsibility, Guo Wenhui put his elder brother aside. Escape was his priority. He cared nobody, including his parents, wife, and children. Escape was Guo Wenhui's instant style and trick. Can know the true color of him through this case. Guo Wenhui's turning point, as well as the starting of his fortune. You said something about me 2 days ago. I know myself. I am a typical example of a criminal of forging evidence. I was used to doing this, including the things that you asked me to do, which are to sue in Hebei High Court, to sue in Hebei Procuratorate and Hebei Public Security Department. In fact, first of all, only you have a relationship with Zhang Yue and Ma Jian. Secondly, I was instructed by you and the plan was designed by you. Your plan was based on the problem of a jurisdiction, because our company was in Beijing and all the people were in Beijing or Chengde. The court had no jurisdiction over the case, and no jurisdiction neither over you nor Zhang Quan Company. What are the things that you have forged at that time? You forged the written instruction of a leader, and you said they related to the critical interest of Zhang Quan. There were another 2 small companies which were actual beneficiaries of Zhang Quan. You registered those 2 companies and located them in Chengde. By doing this, you let your so-called brother Ma Jian and Zhang Yue sign their names and write the instructions. This is called the problem of jurisdiction. I have explained the reason why there came the jurisdiction problem, and this is the key episode. You took advantage of all those things to gain the trust of the public security organs as well as the judicial organs. Of course, you also did other things, including hiring Guo Dongbing or something like that. Among your followers, part of them had accepted your money, or others were the followers of the above-mentioned, your so-called brothers. But the root of the thing is you. You forged the material and you falsely accuse me. This is the truth. You have got in touch with many people of the company. It is all clear that how you forged the materials and how you falsely accuse me and who made the idea. It is all clear now. So from my perspective, you should be alert. You are always like this. You also broke the criminal law. You did those things for many times, like fraudulent loan, fraudulent foreign currency loan, forging the seal, and something like that. Now all the things were evidenced, including the dirty things you did with the employees of your company. They have confessed, and all the things were made clear now. You are still telling lies now. Check the files. You just used 2 A4 papers and typed something all by yourself. You typed the National Security Council, which was not even right. You had forgotten to add the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China before the term. You forged the name and you forged the seals. You dare use such a thing to cheat FBI. I think you are out of your mind. Another thing is that you said your document had been identified by several countries. You can put the certificates from those countries you mentioned and show them to us all. Do not consider others as fools. Do not consider American people as fools, and do not consider FBI as fools. You should know the result you will get by cheating the government and cheating FBI. You are used to taking the advantage of recording others' words and images to control others. You did this to Ma Jian and Zhang Yue, and you also did this to so-called your sister. You want to be the handler by doing this. Americans will not care about this stuff. You said you will disclose the secret and you have given money to some leader of the security department and you will broadcast some videos. Just save it. I do not think such means and such methods can be workable in the US. You can't bribe the current or the retired US officials by this means, and it's useless. Think about your own business. Yesterday, you put some photos of so-called national leaders' real property and the leader's family. We were on the business of real property developing, and we should have a little common sense. Those photos are all from the internet agencies and are just too false.
I saw you today in your video and you argued for yourself again. Your face was made blush and you said, I just finished doing exercise and just had a shower in cool water. You cannot make it falser. Can you have cool water shower just after doing exercise? That will make people die by heart attack. It is a common sense, and after cool water shower, will anyone's face become that blushed? Everything is clear, and the person with some basic common sense of sports will see you through.
I'm an example which is for you to reflect yourself. In those years, your relationship with Zhi Yao and Lin Dao were taken advantage by you, and you made them falsely accused. You brought their money through those judicial organs. Now, those things are all evidenced, and you dare still show off to the public. Stop doing this. How will your sons and grandsons consider about your crimes? How will Guo Qiang and Guo Mei, as well as the parents? How about your old friends? After you gain others' trust, you will do exactly the same as you did to me at that time. They consider you as a true friend and brother, and you just squeeze them and use them until they become useless to you. The better result for them is to be dumped by you, and the worst one is to be falsely accused by you. You did these things all the time. So don't do that anymore. Now everyone can see through you. And now is the information era. Unlike the previous years, your lies will not be believed. Everything is now transparent in the internet era. Everything can be seen through, and we can all see clearly the truth, including those real properties. Everybody understands what has happened. You said your conference or publication was failed to be held. The end is the end. Stop it. You can give yourself a name now, but it is meaningless. You should consider about the future. I saw your video talking about the leader's real property the day before. Yesterday, I also found a video that someone had found the real owner of the property and the process that they made a deal and get the property.
Think for yourself. Do not let the pig-like team members to do the kind of things anymore. There is no so-called kleptocratic of the nation, but do exist thieves stealing you. All the people around you began to cheat you, and it is your retribution. You deceived others, and then others will deceive you. Now you should think about it. Shame on you. The real owner had come out and proved the ownership of the property. You even copied the signature. All the things you have done proved how cheap and how low you are. Despite this, your PS techniques suck, bro.
Qulong recalled once when Guo Wengui's wife called him after he had been drunk so much, he and his bodyguard could only go to Guo Wengui's home and tie him into a chair to prevent him from hurting others. There were situations that Guo Wengui hunted his wife with a shotgun after being drunk. After he drank too much, there came the real Guo Wengui. He began to scold this and scold that, like attacking the leaders, sending how much money, how about that, to kill someone tomorrow, how to kill another the day after tomorrow. Then he thinks on the floor, violent tendencies came out completely. Just the opposite to the person appeared in the daytime, such as a good integrity, being magnanimous. These things had all gone, absolutely. He was so twisted and was sick of psychiatric illness. Now I don't think you are learning Buddha. You now have the chance to become an evil. I think you have also read a lot of Buddhist scriptures and do not know whether you still do so now. Don't you know that you're approaching the situation of being evil? Now I see you have some worries too. So now, since it comes out, there's nothing to worry about. I feel calm in the face of it, a lot of things, and when speaking the truth, telling the truth, I can face it straightforward. I think everything will soon be over. It's a cycle, and there's justice in the world. All will be gone, and we must face it peacefully and face the true world sincerely. Face everyone sincerely. Do not tell lies anymore, do not defame others anymore, and do not maliciously destroy others anymore. I believe that all will be forgiven. I was put into jail for 6 years, and I can forgive you. No need to say others.
There's no problem. I want to see the elders of you too. When the time is right, when the time is proper, I will go to Ho-Hai and see how your old father and mother look like. You can be a good son of them, your brother. I will take care of them for you.
I don't know what your future will be like, but I was an example, the causation between us. I believe that you have looked for the master to anticipate the future. But after all, people should do good things and tell the truth. Today, I have this karma due to you, and I also actually did many bad things with you. Cause and result. For 3 times of life and 6 ways of circle, I actually fail it. I also get some bad fruits. I hope you can consider me as a mirror. Think and think it again. And you should pray every day. I'm sure you are still sticking to it, but try not to ask for anything. The Buddha is not for you to ask for anything you want. The Buddha is to let you find the inner peace. Let you find a state without yourself. Let you find a state of harmony with this nature. Don't show that every day you should burn the incense and worship the prayer. Meditate, peace the heart. It is also a way to cultivate one's morality. Return to natural, find the original state. You'd better find peace and find the good aspect of yourself. Just think, don't again. Do not go on showing off. I feel very pathetic for you. Be honest to yourself. So be an honest man and honestly work. Believe that a lot of things that everyone can forgive, and as a man should take the responsibilities. What you should do now is to think more. Think more about the crime you committed to Mary, and the crime you committed to those female employees in the company. Finally, you will go back home and think whether you will be put into trouble.
Another thing I have to say is that you should go back to prison.
you are a rapist, which are a kind of crimes that was looked really down upon by others. There will be an iron gate which can protect you, but I believe that someone will find you and you will be facing many troubles. You should think it twice, and you should take the responsibility. You should fess up your crime. You should stop committing crimes by over. Otherwise, you will hurt a lot of people, and many people will find you and let you pay.
The legal system and our country will not allow you to do so. You have to come back one day. And even though you are staying in the US now, and you are doomed to come back, because persons like you who are telling lies all the time and who are also a rapist, all the victims will search for you and sue you and ask you for damages. What benefit can you get by doing so? Another thing is that you are a freak and you are talking nonsense every day. By keeping doing this, your heart cannot follow your words and vice versa, and finally you will be insane and become an ill-minded person. In your speech, you mentioned the Hudson Institute cancelled your admissibility of the public speech. You want to say something about Chairman Xi and President Trump. Do not consider yourself as such an important person. You said you were a Chinese developer. You were wanted by Chinese police as well as a police all over the world. In America, you said, a successful developer can be the president. Do not make such a comparison. There is nothing to compare, not only from the perspective of experience and age, but also status. Hudson Institute, which is considered as an American political think tank, there were all the elites there, and they are the best of the best in the world. Just think about it. Will they believe what you have said? Will they believe in a liar? Will they offer you the opportunity to defame others and make such improper comments? Just wake up and don't do that anymore. You're screwed. You're getting insane.
能让你在一个不合时机的时候去发表一些不正当的言论吗？哎，这些东西你就醒醒吧！你现在不要再这样了，你再这样自欺欺人，你就完蛋了，真快成精神病了。
It is same in China, also in the United States, perhaps in other countries the same. Won't make a guilty man go free. Think bad to do. Even if don't come back. That is to say, you in the face of the prosecution, the so-called crime of these cases, or the rape case, that case. How do you go to deal with?
This is the business. Now what is the meaning for you to show off? You did win some attention, but they are taking advantage of you. They just want to use the value that you left to earn a little bit more money. After they have squeezed all your money, they will leave you. You should keep it clear in your mind. You should find the peace in your heart. Who is Guo Wengui indeed, and are you Guo Wengui or not after all? You are cycle based on your current state. So what will you do in the future when you come back to China? If you are still in the state, how can you face these people? How can you face these things? And when you arrive in your country and your home, how can you face Guo Qiang and Guo Mei? Will they live in the US or come back to China? Don't you have to arrange all the things?
You do not think about all these things. You are still in the US and show off all day long. What you have said are all lies. What is the meaning for you to say all the things? This is the age of internet, which is unlike the old days when information was asymmetric and others could believe what you said. Now they just have a check in the internet and the truth can be found. Even person like me with lower IT technology can make a video phone with you, not to mention others. So think it twice about your future, your way after you come back. How about your next year's Mid-Autumn Day? You can hide yourself in the US for 1 day or 2 days more, but the end is the end, and you will be sent back. You will face all the actions and the crime that you committed in Mary's case, the court investigation and something like that. What will you do with all these things? Just think it. What is the difference between you and an aunt? Do not live like this anymore. Consider it as a happy thing. Living like an ant on the hot pan, just save it, my brother. You should wake up and come back earlier. Face the reality and do not tell lies anymore. Think about your future. Think about your life after you coming back. Face the trial in the US. What can you do after being put in jail? What can you do in the second half of your life? How can you face the family and your elders as well as your children? How can you face your friends? How about the lies that you have told? All have passed. If you are willing to face up all your crime and take the responsibilities and treat those people truthfully, I believe all will be ended.
I think you have committed so many crimes by all and there is little time left for you. You should think about it and make the right decision. I am waiting for you there. There should be one day when we meet again. There should be one day when we chat with each other again. I wish you a happy mid-autumn and I wish the elders all the health. I wish you will have a happy ending of your mid-autumn trip in my